What's up guys, welcome back to episode 2 of this F1 2013 career mode. There's Nick Hamilton getting into his Caterham for the first time this season, getting ready for the practice session at Australia. We've changed our wheel settings, I say, we've mapped the buttons out. We've changed the difficulty of the AI to Legend. We've got no assists on, they're on their hardest difficulty. This is going to be the biggest challenge the game has to offer. But yeah, I'm going to make full use of this practice session, for sure. We've got 3 dry days ahead of us, no rain expected. We'll delve into the setup later. Got our tyres, 2 tyres there that apparently I can't use just yet for some reason. But okay, we're going to go out for our installation run. Make sure absolutely engineer letting me know. Lack of grip, green track. As the engine fires up and we head out the pit lane for the very first time. Let's go out for a 1-lap run. Make sure everything works.
Not to drive over the white line when coming out of the pits, or you'll get a penalty.
DRS works. Feeding the car through these corners, not pushing, just making sure, as I do in real life, go out for one solitary lap at the beginning, making sure the curves works, absolutely. We'll test the engine settings, make sure everything's working as it should. Absolutely everything in fine working order. Caterham got their stuff together for this first race of the season, no problems to report. As you can see that by the map, here is the detection point for DRS, just before the third to last corner. And then of course the activation point down the pit straight out of the final corner, and also out of turn 2 down towards turn 3 as well, as we complete our installation lap, heading back into the pit lane. You can see no one else ready to do any work yet, as usual. Although there is a car that's just flown past on the pit straight, so of course more cars out there doing their installation runs at this point of the session. As I get wheeled back into the pit lane. Not the pit lane, the pit box, the garage, up onto the jacks, and now I'll talk to the engineers for a bit, let them know any feelings for the car. We'll look at the setup, I'll make a few changes.
The car setup screen allows you to
for now,
fine-tune
as the engineer
settings.
runs through.
Alternatively, you can leave it on the default settings if you're happy with how the car handles.
I have to say, from that first lap, it did already feel, obviously a green track, but it did feel very lively at the rear end, so I think taking a bit of front wing out will help balance that out. Braking seems fine for now. Haven't unlocked brake size yet, hopefully that will come in an update to the car soon. Leave everything as it is for now. Balance, yeah, it's a pretty tight and twisty track, but tyre wear, of course, we want to watch that as much as possible. Suspension, we can go very low on the ride height, although it's a very bumpy track, so I think 3.3 will do for now. Spring stiffness, yeah, we can bump that up. Of course, it'll make the ride a bit harsher, but it'll give us lap time at the end of the day. Of course, that live rear end, we need a keep that on control, so we'll go a bit softer on the rear. Gearbox, I don't know, it seems fine. We'll maybe adjust that later in the session when we've been out for a proper run. So we'll go out for, I don't know, 3 or 4 laps, get used to the car, get used to the setup, see how it feels after that, and maybe come in for some more setup changes. Camber, of course, teams always run maximum camber that they can get away with. So we'll obviously usually more on the front than the rear, or less, whichever way you look at it, because it's negative camber. And then toe, of course, we'll go not all the way to the right, because I know a lot of people don't like it when that happens, as my wheel decides to make it go left. But we'll run it not optimal, or not what apparently is optimal, but what we feel will be suffice. So we'll save that for now, log that into the data. Career 1. And I think we'll wait maybe 5 minutes or so for the track to clear up a bit, and then we'll head out to do some runs. So we'll be back, or I'll be back, in about 5 minutes time. Okay guys, so we're 10 minutes into the session. We're now going to head out. Again, same set of tyres of course. Need to make sure we conserve as many tyres as possible for qualifying in the race, despite trying to get as much data from this session as possible. So we are going to go to track now, drive out, as the car is ready to be dropped from the jacks, head out onto the track and get a proper feel for this Caterham, proper feel for the Albert Park circuit. Let's see how we stack up.
Remember to stay inside the white line or we'll get a penalty.
Got a few cars behind us. There's a cold tyres. Here's the McLaren. And the other McLaren. Not the McLaren, that's a Sauber. I look very similar in the rear view mirrors. 12 laps of fuel on board for now. Don't want to load it up too much, otherwise we'll just cause excessive tyre wear. Actually just need to warm up these tyres as much as we can, but without taking out too much life. So I've got Toro Rosso in front of us here. Got a car behind us. We'll leave it in lean for now just to get used to the car and not wear out the engine too much. Of course, it's not going to be a flying lap as such, just getting used to the car, of course. Running a bit wide with that understeer. we finish our first time lap. Of course, nothing special, although 400ths behind our teammate there. So not too bad for a first run. Felt like a much more solid first sector.
No overtaking and watch out for debris on the track.
We've got yellows in sector 2 apparently. Looks like it's cleared up a bit now though. Oh no. What's going on there? 3 cars just stopped on the track for God knows whatever reason. Of course we've had to ease off the throttle. Don't want to be incurring any reprimands or penalties in our first race. You have to, of course, in a yellow flag sector, show signs that you did in fact. So we're going to let this car behind go through. Mark Webber, his home Grand Prix. He of course rolls off into the distance in front of us as we exit the final corner. Of course nowhere near that's the best after we had to let off the throttle for the shenanigans of whatever was happening at that straight at the end of the second sector. It looked like, I don't know who it was, it looked like maybe a Williams, Ferrari, McLaren. Of course we flew past at such great speed, I have no idea.
We have waved yellows in sector 2.
Engineer's still telling me waved yellows in sector 2. I presume that means either they're still going to be there, but there's no point really pushing now, is there? You can see the yellows on the map in the bottom left. We're going to have to ease off, so I think are they still here? They are. Let's have a look. What is going on here? So you got Bottas. Massa has lost his wing on Hulkenberg, and Bottas has just come to a stop. So that doesn't look like it's going to get cleared anytime soon, for whatever reason. So I think we're going to head back into the pit lane. Sort out a few settings. I need to change a few things on my wheel. That feels a bit too twitchy for my liking. As we now come back into the pit lane. So not an error-free run in terms of getting the practice we want. We had the AI of Bottas, Massa, and I think Hulkenberg it was. God knows what they were doing there, but they caused continuous yellow flags for that sector 2, so no real point in being out there trying to see if we're improving, because of course we can't set lap times through that sector 2 that are improvements. So we'll get ready for a semi sort of qualifying run, maybe see what the pace is like on proper low fuel for the next run, then maybe go out for some high fuel runs, and then another full on qualifying sim at the very end of the session. So yeah, aerodynamics, I think they were all fine, everything felt okay. Gearbox, I think we can afford to bump that up a few clicks at least. We're topping up pretty early. But of course, I think what we'll do is we'll go for a slightly shorter 7th gear. So in the race, we'll be in higher revs when we shift. We'll be in higher revs when we shift up into 7th, so we won't get as much of a bogged down feeling. So I think we'll again conserve the engine for now. Fill it up a little bit, make sure we don't give our true pace away to our competitors. We'll log their setup, override our previous setup because it's basically the same thing but just minor improvements.
We'll make the changes you requested.
We'll bolt on a set of option tyres. We'll wait for the timer to come down a little bit, and then we'll hit the track, maybe half an hour to go. So until then, we'll see what the other drivers can do and see if that mess gets cleared up. It looks like it's been cleared up from the map there, so we'll wait for the track to clear up a bit more, and then we'll head out for our reasonably low fuel run. Okay, so there we go, we've got half an hour left of the session. We've got the options on. We're now going to hit the track for a option tyre run. We've got some fuel on board. We're not going to be pushing the engine at all. Just want to get a feel for these tyres, feel the extra grip. Maybe do an out lap, a mediocre lap, and then really go for it on the third lap before returning back to the pits for some high fuel runs.
Stay clear of the white line. We don't want a penalty.
As you can see, our driver there, Lewis, in the Mercedes, doing a top job. He's currently sitting fastest of all. I have actually, as it reoccurs to me, forgotten to change my wheel settings, so we'll have to make do with what we've got for now before changing it for the high fuel run after this brief stint on the option tyre. We come onto the pit straight now to start our lap.
You're losing a lot of time in the final two sectors.
Yeah, I've got a car behind us, but we are on a hot lap. So, and it's only a practice session, so no blue flags. So if he wants to come past, he's going to have to earn it, but I hope he doesn't try anything too dangerous. As we run a bit wide there. So we're about to cross the line. We're doing 29.4. As we slow down. Oh! As we get brake checked by our brother there. All fun and games, I'm sure. I don't think we need to go for another hot lap now. No point. It's got a car ahead of us. We'll save these tyres for the high fuel run next time out. So back into the pits now, after that option tyre run. 16th place. Can't really read too much into the times at the moment though. Be better looking at the end of the session. But before then, as we get wheeled back into our garage, we've still got our high fuel run and then a proper qualifying sim run at the very end of the session. So now I'm going to change some of my settings. Steam saturation, move that up. So that was the main one from the last game that I had raised. That was 30% last game, so I'll try 30% again this time. As we are, I don't think I mentioned this yet, we are doing 50% race distance. So not entirely sure how many laps that is, so I don't know, 20, high 20s, low 30s probably. As we, the gearbox was quite high, wasn't it? I don't think we got anywhere near topping out, to be honest. I think that can come down again. But of course we were in lean as well. But something like that should be sufficient. So we load the car up with some fuel. Put 30 laps in for now. Keep on these option tyres. 83% done already. As yeah, well, how much time have we got? We've got 23 minutes, so not too much time. So we'll get straight back out on track and see what's what. I think we'll do this run in a higher fuel mixture standard to make sure that'll be the engine mixture we'll most likely be running for the majority of the race. So when we get around to doing some laps, we'll stick that into the standard mixture 2 and be on our way.
Remember, you're running with a set of scrub tyres, so you should be able to push a little earlier once they're up to temperature.
Right, these wheel settings have not helped at all. Car feels a lot more twitchy. Steering wheel movements are so much more than what they were. That's not supposed to happen at all. Right. I know I want to try and make this as realistic and immersive as possible, but I can't drive like that, and I haven't got time to waste. Okay, where are we going? So saturation didn't work. So put that back down, maybe to 0, because I mean, is it dead zone steering linearity that we had on 30%? I really can't remember off the top of my head. I'll try it, see what happens. Right, that's made it a lot more lazy, which is what I want, but it's gone vastly too far. I'll try 15. Still just a fraction too much. 10% should be about right. Still fraction. It's quite a delicate balance between not enough and too much. Of course, we move the mixture up now. These settings feel a bit better, I think. Of course, race sim, so we'll not be using DRS.
Time for the first sector was good, but you're losing a little time in sectors 2 and 3.
course, wanting to keep the rears in check. I think that's where we're going to be struggling the most. We lack a bit of downforce, of course, so a lot of tyre scrubbing going on, as well as wheel spin out of these traction areas. So we're going to have to try and watch that as best we can. Keep the tyre monitor up, keep an eye on it. Tyre's not in great standing already. Straddling the curve there. Only a second down on our lap time, even with all this fuel on board, but of course that lap was set in lean as we run very deep there. Again, a lot of understeer on this heavy fuel. We need to cater for that a bit better than what we're doing at the moment.
You're losing time in sectors 1 and 3.
Try pushing the braking distance, but it hasn't worked. Just trying to find the boundaries for these corners and then make sure we stay within a when it counts in the race on Sunday.
Tyre temperatures are looking really good.
Tyre temps are where they need to be according to the engineer. As you can see, we've been pushed down to 17th as well. I don't know when that happened, but I've only just noticed. Still running a fraction too wide on that corner. Again, running wide out of there. Need to maybe sacrifice some speed through the left to ensure we get the car pulled to the left before swinging it through the right. A lot of wheel spin through that final corner. The rears and the front left also really starting to
You're off the pace
go
in all
off.
sectors, particularly 1 and 3.
Somebody seems to have forgotten the engineer what we're trying to do here, and that being off the pace is to be expected. We've got a car right on the back of us. It's a Red Bull, Sebastian Vettel, I do believe. So we'll let him go here. And carry on our way. I know this track is quite bad for corner cutting and track extending. Of course, try my best to avoid that, even if it means it being a bit slower than some other people. As we finally get that left-right correct. The tyre's really not looking in good standing. Just watching the rear end through there, make sure it doesn't step out, try and keep the rears alive.
You're losing time in sectors 1 and 3.
To really feel the back end coming lively. almost getting it wrong through that left-right once again, but we just about managed to keep it. Oh, he made a rookie mistake there, just clipping the grass on the left.
You're off the pace in all sectors, particularly 1 and 3.
So that's the fastest lap so far on this heavy fuel run that we've managed. Tyres really feel like they're letting go now. That time's still not suffering too badly. The car becoming quite a handful, especially in the traction zones. As we finally nailed that left-right. Having to come down an extra gear for that now, as the fronts are starting to cry as well as the rears. So across the line with another high 30, so reasonably consistent there. 30.7 I think it was, followed by 30.8. See what the circuit times are for this. Plan on coming in this lap. Got some valuable data I'm sure the engineers will look into overnight to give us the best chance for Sunday in the race. See the front left really struggling on that tyre wear indicator now. Have a look through the second sector. Still within a second of our time, but that front left really starting to give up now. As we start backing off, make sure the cars are a little bit cooler when we enter the pit lane. The slow speeds can often cause havoc with the temperatures, so we run a fraction wide there. Coming into the pits, I think what I might try will be put on well, maybe the scrub set of primes we have from earlier in the session, and see what sort of lap time from 1 or 2 laps, see what the undercut is, if there is an undercut to be had. So my left rear has a bit of a twitch before being put up on the jacks. That's a run of about 5 or 6 laps I think, so tyres not lasting a great deal. So we'll take out the fuel that we would have had. We would have had about 25 laps left, I think. Put on that set of prime tyres. We have 11.5 minutes left, so we'll be able to get a few laps in now before going out for the final part of the session for our full-on qualifying simulation. What I am quickly going to do though, before heading out onto the track, is switch over my Curzon DRS because they are around the wrong way. There we go, lovely. I'm used to them being the other way around, but for whatever reason I decided to put them in incorrectly. Trying to deal with it so far this session, but truth be told, I have actually just been forgetting constantly to change them as we let the Ferrari go ahead of us into turn 1.
You should be able to push a bit earlier once the scrub tyres are up to temperature.
And so you can see scrub tyres, but still very cold, which is what they will be out of the pit. So instead of running around lean trying to warm them up, we'll head straight back into our race simulation. Maybe do this lap and the next lap and then come in and get the car prepped for our final run of this practice session, that full on qualifying trim effort. We've got Bianchi there giving us a squeeze as we try and go past him, as he's driving very slowly. Can't feel too much difference at the moment between these tyres and the options. Of course, you want to try and go on the options as long as possible to minimise the amount of stops you have to do, but if you're losing too much time, it's really not worth it. So we were doing high 30s on those options before we came in. We won't use all our curves, we'll use the amount we usually have left to make sure we get as equal reading as possible. As we now start the rest of this race simulation. Picking up a bit of mid-corner understeer there, and some oversteer as well on the exit turn 4. See, 4/10 down, so roughly ballpark area of where we were on those options. Much nicer line through there though. We finally clipped the apex and got a good exit out of there. Just half a second down through that second sector. Massive kick of oversteer there as we try and take the final corner flat, but the car not liking it as we cross the line for a 30.6. So not a massive improvement, but there was definitely room for improvement on these tyres. So I think there would be an undercut, a slight undercut to be had if in the race we're in a position where we need that undercut. Of course that was with cold tyres, or reasonably cold tyres. Temperatures warming up all the time, as the engineer bang on cue tells us. Probably coming in this lap, I think. See what the second sector split is. Ooh, running a bit wide there. Yeah, there's not too much difference between the times, to be honest. I think the options might have been able to go an extra lap or two, which of course would benefit us later in the race, as these primes would have to do less time, depending on if it is going to be 1, 2 or 3 stop, who knows. The engineers will have the number crunching to do. As we come back into the pits now, as the guys will take the rest of the fuel out, we'll go on to a new set of option tyres, and then maybe 2 flying laps, perhaps. Depends how we do on our first one. Just over 5 minutes to go.
There's only a few cars out on track. We should consider getting out there.
So on go. Fresh set of options. You see 41% down there, tyre life. Down comes the fuel. 5 laps. Then out onto the track.
All set.
One thing we haven't yet done is a practice start, so we'll get ready for that.
Stay clear of the white line. We don't want a penalty.
So we've bogged down there. So we need a bit more input from the throttle there on the start. Knowledge for Sunday. Still undecided for 5th or 6th through there in qualifying trim. I think we'll try 6th, we'll go all out. As we're winding up now. Let's start our proper flying lap.
You're off the pace in all sectors, particularly 1 and 3.
As we've absolutely ruined turn 1 there. Turning in just a fraction too early. Not expecting that much grip from the front end. But we've still got time to get around and to get our qualifying lap in. But of course the best of these option tyres will have gone. Still got plenty of fuel left. Plenty of time for in case we make another mistake, but hopefully we won't. Around the final difficult corner and crossing the line now to start another flying lap.
Into the bottom half of the field. We need to keep pushing.
Oh, we've double shifted into 7th by accident. Still carried on with the lap though. Could have carried us a fraction more speed through that right, but it was still on for a pretty solid lap.
Left in the session.
Back on the DRS, rest of the curves used as we head towards the line.
Nice lap, now in fifth
For a
place.
27.1, within a second of the current fastest lap by Sebastian Vettel, 9/10 off. Pretty solid lap that. Still some time to come off. Obviously we had that mistake, the double shift coming out of turn 2, which we sort of had to press too many buttons at once, trying to let go of curves, pressing DRS and shifting up all at the same time pretty much. Of course the session's over now. And that was also, of course, on our second run on the option, so the best of the tyres had gone at that point. But I'm sure the other guys still got some pace up their sleeve as well. There we go, into the pits to finish the session.
Fifth place, well done.
A decent 5th place. So Sebastian Vettel there, fastest by 3/10 ahead of Hamilton. Massa flying the Ferrari flag ahead of Alonso. There we are. Nick Hamilton, 5th place, within a second of the fastest time set, ahead of the likes of both Lotuses. Mark Webber. The McLarens obviously not doing as well as they should be, and then the rest of the constructors as well behind us, with our teammate down in 21st, ahead of Max Chilton but behind Jules Bianchi, so splitting the Maruches. But of course we are up in 5th place, so a solid practice there for us, as we'll be looking to take that pace into qualifying and then the race for sure. A lot of thinking for the team to do, as our objective is finish 16th or above for this qualifying session. Who knows if we can get into top 10 shootout. If, that's a big if, then who knows whether it'll be best to try and set a lap time on options or just sit back and go for a prime tyre start. But that'll all be for next episode, so tune in then to find out what happens for the qualifying at this Australian Grand Prix, which will be episode 3 of this career mode on F1 2013. So until then, it's bye for now.
Won't you grant